7 seconds. Wait. piece was missing. Don't know if I was aware a piece was.
Okay, folks, I know you can hear me just now because I have in this case a to talk about all the hours. And for those who are she's pushing the
head of procurement for MSD. MSD is known as and Dom. We are global pharmaceutical.
everything is everything is failing. Our entire system is failing and all the system is running down. Okay, so I think it's okay now. Theo did a quick explanation of himself. Maybe let's go into this straight away. Folks, streaming, is it okay? I talk to my guys first. Is it okay? Okay, so Theo, I'm going to ask you the first question is really how would you differentiate pharmaceutical and healthcare supply chain? Because I set my title that way, and I think for me that would have been a misunderstanding. So maybe you can explain this a lot better.
Yeah. So basically, the healthcare is actually pharmaceutical is part of the healthcare industry, or what we call the healthcare and life science industry. So within this very broad term, we have pharma, that is really drugs manufacturing. You have medical devices. You could have biotech, and then the hospital, the healthcare infrastructures. So if you think about a drug manufacturing process, typically you will move from material to packaging, and then from the manufacturer you move to the distributors. The distributors either goes into the hospital or the pharmacist, and then you think about the hospital ecosystem. When drugs arrive, you have patients coming in, some doing surgery, then you have medical devices deployment, you have personal protective equipment, surgical masks, and so forth. So very broadly, the pharmaceutical supply chain talks about everything from manufacturing to the healthcare professionals and the distributor side, and then in some cases refers basically what is happening within the hospital ecosystem. So whatever is within from the point a patient goes into the hospital all the way to drugs dispensing. If there's a independent pharmacy hospital, that will be part of the healthcare ecosystem. But very broadly, everything falls under the healthcare and life science supply chain umbrella.
Yeah, so that was the explanation that I thought make more sense. Healthcare, life sciences, and then pharmaceutical as one segment of the play. But the more challenging part, at least the part that we are more interested to find out more, is also how has the current pandemic, COVID-19, affected pharmaceutical supply chain, especially from your side, right? Because you are a procurement specialist, as procuring materials for, in this case, for MSD.
I think at the beginning of the pandemic, when we started in China, one thing that not just our companies, a lot of companies face challenges the procurement of PPE equipment and surgical masks. So for a couple of months, mask was in short supply. It was very hard to get hold of it, but you need it to ensure the safety of your manufacturing personnel, people working at the key sites, to ensure that they are protected. From a raw material standpoint, we are actually covered quite well from our side. I think the pandemic actually triggered some longer-term thinking about alternative sources for the industry itself, because China is the biggest supplier of API globally. And when that actually happens, coupled with some of the previous actions that the government has taken on the industry, there was a shortage of supply for a period of time. So I think it actually prompts people to look into their supply chains of raw materials more deeply, And now that I think things are beginning to return to normal in most cases, so I think there's a balance. But it actually ties back to inventory building, longer term contingencies, dual supply, and so forth. But I think at the beginning, definitely it was quite challenging to respond to something that no one really has actually encountered before.
Yeah, you use the word or the acronym API. I have a lot of tech friends here, and also a lot of my guys who are watching, the community members who are watching are also from a lot more familiar with the technology industry. In technology industry, API refers to the application processing, or I can't even remember what is it, but it's basically a term to interface across multiple systems. What really does API mean in the pharmaceutical world?
So API is called active pharmaceutical ingredients. So if you think a drug, um, a chemical setup, you need chemicals to actually target against a certain benefit. So it will trigger certain benefits. Those chemical compounds, generally speaking, will be called API. Then the other part of it is called expedient that really helps with the delivery of the drug in the bloodstream or so forth. So it's a core ingredients to make a medicine or make a drug in manufacturing.
So do you acquire APIs?
That we do buy APIs as part of our manufacturing process as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I have my interesting trainee who tell me that API stands for Application Programming Interface. Okay, so Theo just explained that API stands for Active Pharmaceutical Ingredients. But Theo, I know one of the more exciting part that we are all watching in the world today is that there are vaccines that are already being tested at phase 3 and that is going to be rolled out globally next year. But we also has been reading that the distribution of vaccines are very challenging. I know from your point of view, especially you as someone who does procurement and distributing products on a global basis, where do you see all this coming into play? What are the challenges and issues involved in doing vaccine distribution?
So Paul, I presume we are talking about the COVID-19 vaccines, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'll use a very recent example. So everyone would have read about Pfizer's success in the late stage clinical trials with a 90+% success rate. So the vaccine will be one of the very first vaccines that could be deployed into the world. And one very interesting thing about this vaccine is that it actually needs to be transported below 70 degrees Celsius. So it's actually not a cold chain, it's an ultra cold chain. So if you think about it from the point where you produce a vaccine to deployment across the world, you need the right kind of technology and the logistics and transportation systems that can ensure that there's no temperature excursion. So the vaccines needs to be done in a way where throughout your whole journey, temperature is maintained more or less within the band that is needed. And the interesting part about the vaccines is that it needs 2 doses for it to be administered, which means that even if you transport it to the same location, 3 weeks later, the second dose, you still need to aggregate the right level of people that have had the first doses to come forwards. So within the distribution chain, is something that could present new logistical opportunity in terms of technological constraints or new ways of doing things. And even in the dispensing of those vaccines, there is also other logistical issues in terms of identification of patients, in terms of getting everyone vaccinated in the right way so that the doses wouldn't go to wastage. So I think it's a huge challenge trying to vaccinate the whole world. And it's something that everyone, or I think every player in the industry, is trying to understand and learn about how to cope with that. But I think Pfizer is a good example of the vaccines rollout, prompting a lot of reflections about that. Yeah.
I remember chatting with you about this, and you were saying that vaccines come in a standard pack. I think you used the number 943. And then
Yeah.
you were also explaining that because it comes in a standard pack, it should be used as a pack and not separate. So in that kind of context, are we saying that based on whatever is going on today, if I send a bunch of vaccines into a place for vaccinations of the whatever population, and whatever is left behind as that vaccines that are not used will be wasted?
Uh, okay, because that I'm looking at the facts that is coming through based on what we read on publicly publicly available. I think the real challenge about vaccines is to maintain the temperature. So if you are not using it or you are not using it immediately, so one thing is that do you have the storage conditions? Yeah, whether it's at a local hospital or clinic or dispensing point to actually store those vaccines properly. So temperature excursion is one important part, or the temperature stability is one very important part to ensure the efficacy of the vaccines itself. And I think the real challenge is to ensure that even within that batch, whatever doses that have been allocated is not being used up. How do we ensure that store it in the right way? There's a backup power system so that your devices or your cold chain device can actually store it over a period of time so that you can use it without wasting it. So I think that is the biggest challenge because today such technology does not exist broadly in most of the dispensing.
I was reading something else. I was reading that Corning produced the glass, right? I believe the glass are the materials used to create the vials, and the vials are where the vaccines are being stored. Are you going to envisage that next year there is going to be a shortage of this kind of glass that's coming out in the market, at least as a materials?
I think there will be increased demand as you talk about because we never really, even with flu vaccines, there's really never a point of doing global vaccination over a very short period of time. So any manufacturers or R&D that are looking into these areas will then actually press up demand or push up demand for glasses or packaging products in relation to the vaccines. So I think it's inevitable, but I also believe that this is being foreseen and the packaging materials manufacturers will be adding capacity on their end as well. Yeah.
Okay. So, Teo, I'm going to hold you for too long, but I got one last questions for you, and really because of the industry that you come from. How do you envisage the impact on, I'm going to use your word, life sciences and healthcare supply chain post-COVID? What is your view of what's going on, at least from your side, the procurement side, the manufacturing, the way it's manufactured, the ways these products are being manufactured, the trade wars and everything that's going on? Do you envisage like major upheavals in the industry in the next like 6 to 18 months?
Well, honestly, I think it's hard to tell what will happen. But if you look at the pandemic and what that has triggered for everyone, 2020 is a very unusual world. So the whole world has been turned upside down, and I think that triggers a longer term question about what if it happens again. Our supply chain enough, our plans resilient enough, another wave of pandemic, especially country lockdowns or areas lockdowns are being used as an approach. So these are very disruptive to the supply chain, especially when you try to contain everything or workers come to factories to work. Then how do we ensure the supply of raw materials or packaging materials or services can go on undisrupted? I think it will prompt a rethinking about dual, triple sourcing, or also prompt thinking about how do you build your supply chains in a more flexible and agile manner, and how do you actually leverage on the new logistical challenges or technology that surface the introduction of new medications. So I think all these are going to alter the landscape for the future, but any I think will take a period of time because of the lead time of regulation approval for the industry. So I think we are going to see changes, but I think structural changes will come when the world has a better understanding of how the vaccines will be deployed and eventually what then will be the impact across all the different countries. Yeah.
Thank you, Teo. It's a pleasure to have you on live with us. This is actually a new show platform, and I really appreciate your support. I know our guys are going into the connection no good, on and off lagging. I apologize to everyone, Well, we do what we can, but for now, thank you, Theo. You have a good day. Stay safe, and then I'll
Thanks
see you
a-
again.
Thanks a lot, Paul. See you, everyone.
Thank you. So that was Mr. Teo from MSD. The Teo is actually one of our. Let me do this. Let him get out of the system first. And then for the rest of you, I'm really so sorry. I know that it is very, very tough, that there's a lot of things going on, like people say, a lot of moving parts, to put things together. The nice part about trying to do an online show is all of you can be where you are, I can be where I am, and then we can still share something like this. We plan to do this a lot more. I'm sorry for some of you folks that as a trainee and then as part of our setup that you are constantly being asked to come back, but this is one way to keep you all knowledgeable, or at least keep you all in touch with not just us but with the industry. The second speaker that I brought together, or I brought to join us, is someone who gets involved in what I call visualization and communications. That's why he called it. His name is Ang Tian Tek. Let me introduce him. Let me do a bit of a change first because I need to bring Mr. Ang into my setup. Hold on first. You all will see me. You all will not see him yet because I have not arranged for him to be to be cropped. Okay, let me do this. Okay, let me now bring Mr. Ang on board. Mr. Ang Tian Tek from Sticky Spy. Hello, Tian Tek. Can you hear me, Tian Tek? No, you can't hear me? Okay, wait, he can't hear me. Wait. It should be live already. Let me invite him on board first. Tian Tek, can you hear me? 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 I'm talking to you, Tian Tek. Tian Tek, can you hear me? Folks, I have some issue, some technical issue getting Tian Tek online. Let me check with him again, see what happened. This one don't miss, but can't hear you. Wait, let me send you a message. Yeah, can you hear me? I can hear you now. Can you hear me? What do you mean you cannot see? You are actually live already. I can see you. Sorry guys, please be patient. Tian Tek, you can just chat because everyone can see you, even though you can't see
Hello,
yourself.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you. We can all hear you. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you, I cannot see you. There's no picture.
You connect back again. I disconnect you first. Well, this technical challenge is a bit out of whack, but let me take him out first, and then ask him to sign in again. Folks, I'm so sorry. Stay on for a while. We will clear this soon. Okay, so hold on for a while. Tintic actually specializes in what he call visual communications. In the visual communications, he actually play with, we know as slides, we know as PowerPoint, but in the slides and PowerPoint that he's playing with, he found a way to communicate much more effectively by what we call minimize the use of text and then play with visualizations. So let me figure a way out to bring him on board, because when he come on board, you will know why I meant that I actually like what he's doing. So Tente, can you see me now? Can you hear me now? Can you still see me? Can you still hear me? Yeah. Yes, I can hear you. You are now live, Mr. I can hear you. Yeah.
Thing that is turning and turning
Never
and turning
mind,
on my
just talk.
screen,
Tintic, just talk.
on my browser. So not quite sure what is happening.
You're okay. You're live already. Can you just say something? Who are you? What is Sticky Spy?
It's not acting.
Okay, folks, technical issues that cannot be resolved. Let me do this. We're going to cut short the show, and then I'm not going to let you all wait here for too long. For now, this is really the end of what we are trying to do. Yeah, I can see you, but you cannot talk. Okay, so let's complete our shows, and then maybe another day I'll bring Tiantek back. For now, this is the end. Take care, everyone, and then see you again sometime soon.